What's up, people? Hope all is well. Welcome back to another episode of the Women Behind the Courage Couture Gala. It is the host and the visionary, Leah M. Forney. I'm super excited, y'all, to introduce another incredible boss woman on my team. She is a social media strategist. She is just, listen, she do all the things, y'all, like all the things. All right. I got my girl, Aya Thomas, in the building. What's up, girl?
Hey, hey, hey,
Listen,
hey.
I'm so excited we can have this conversation. So please, before we dive in, tell the people about yourself.
Hi, everybody. I am Aya Thomas. I wear a variety of hats. I consider myself like a social service escapee. However, I have used that knowledge to venture into entrepreneurship and lend my expertise in social media and everything like that to worthy causes, just like this one.
Listen, and I'm so excited to have you on the team. So I got to ask you, what was it about this cause that made you say yes to being a part of the team?
Well, one, let's start with the fact that it's you, right? So
Oh,
let's start there. And second of all, the mission is everything I stand for.
yeah.
Um, and it layers in so many intersections of my life and who I am, and really what I've dedicated. Oh, sorry. And really what I've dedicated my life to. So as I said, I'm a social services escapee. So I've done that for my whole entire career. And this gives me an opportunity to bridge those two things together.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny that you say you're a social service escapee. I think all of us are. Like, honestly, if you've worked in any form of human services, like you've seen it
Yeah.
and you know firsthand whether, and I always tell people, like, you don't have to have lived experience, but if you've worked in that, like, you know what sexual violence does and how it really impacts people. And so I love that. And I love that it's a cause that's near and dear to your heart, because when I was creating this event and thinking about a team, I really wanted people that had that same mission driven energy, that same ideology, that same, like, listen, survivors deserve healing, they deserve justice, and I think that you do that so well. So I got to pull on this social media strategist hat of yours, because you are just incredible at helping me figure out all the things that I should be doing to promote this event. So when you think about events like this, what is your approach to social media? Like, what should people be thinking about when they use social media?
Relatability. Like this, you want to touch on the chords and the heartstrings of people and not in a way that's inflated and manipulative, right?
Mm,
So to me, tell the story as authentically as possible. And make it as approachable as possible because this is happening like to everyday people. There's no race, color, creed, sex, orientation. There's none of that assigned. There's not one particular look. So when
yeah.
when you're when I think of the creation and the implementation, I want to talk about Johnny around the corner as well as Jane, the executive in the six-story office. So it's like just relatability.
No, for sure. And it's funny you say that, because I realized that the more personable that I got with the content, the more engagement it got, the more people were like, oh, let me go donate to this cause. Like, it's something about people being able to see themselves in the content,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And I realized that, and I got that from your leadership, that people have to see themselves in order for them to say, okay, let me go click this button and donate. Because if I don't see myself, why would I give?
What am I? Yeah. I feel like people don't donate to things, they donate to causes. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So if everything's polished and stuff like that, to me, we're now detached from it, or we don't think that that person needs our assistance. Like they got it together, like this,
yeah.
such. But that's why I try to be like as raw as possible, even in my own content. Like some things are very polished or whatever the case may be, and sometimes I'm just like, "Hey, y'all, it's a bad day." So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, for real. And that's what I think I love about watching you do social media that has helped me, is that, like, you really have like no cut cards, but also like you give them everything. Like,
yeah,
you give like the real, the raw, the
yeah,
professional Aya, the
yeah,
entrepreneur Aya, and
yeah.
you're like really, really raw about, like, being an entrepreneur sucks. Like, I have rough days. And I think, again, to your point of relatability, that's why you get the traction you get. And that's why people can see you as a strategist, because you do that in your own content. So you're not a person that's like, I'm going to tell you what to do and don't do it. Like, you actually do these things too. So, yeah, I love that. So, talking about content, we've put out a whole lot of content since we've been doing this. Is there been one piece of content that you're like, yes, I love that? That was probably one of my favorites.
So I like when you jump on some of the trends. I like to hear the story because I think certain things need a face.
Yeah.
So I like to see the face behind certain people because sometimes we're in meetings. I don't mean to break the third wall, but sometimes you're in meetings and stuff, and not everybody who participates in one way or another is showing up to that office setting. So it's cool, like even like the caterer and stuff to
Mm-hmm.
put placement to that, and also so then you could support as well. But I think I reposted it, the flyer you did. It was more along the horizontal lines. I like how you did that, and I definitely like reposted that. But I really like the storytelling because me by nature, like one, I'm nosy. You know what I'm saying? So I want to know what's going on. And two, I love me a good story. And
Yeah.
I love stories of like triumph and adversity.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone could overcome this, which some of us might think is like the worst thing ever, and they've never been through it or whatever, like this
Yeah.
person has overcome what is perceived to be your worst day ever, and they still continued on.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. I think naturally I'm a storyteller. So I definitely feel like stories connect with the heart of people, right? And to your point, like people want to see the face behind the brand. They want to know like you're human, right? And I think that's one of the detriments of social media, is that people kind of get this robotic version of you for some reason. And so when you really tap into like that emotion and that authenticity and that like, nah,
Yeah,
this was a journey
yeah.
to get here. Like
Mhm.
I always tell people it's 12 years post sexual assault for me, but like it's been a journey. Like I didn't wake up 12 years later and was
And
just
was
like,
like,
oh, it's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Like,
right.
so I agree. Like people have to see the process. So I want to talk about messaging too, because one of the things that you're really good at is making sure that your messaging doesn't borderline, like it's a borderline between professional and promotional, but also educational. Like, so how important is messaging when you're creating events like this?
So messaging is extremely important because people don't want to be sold. Like you don't, there's a reason why like car salespeople have that cheesy undertone,
Yeah.
and you just don't. I shouldn't say you just don't want that. You shouldn't want that. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want your audience to feel, and especially this one, right? Especially
Yeah.
this particular audience segment, because some of us have been victimized already, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to come off too icky. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And sometimes, just the way the human brain works, like there's these subtleties, right?
Yeah.
Like even let's say McDonald's, for instance, like when you typically most people like when they see red and yellow, they're thinking McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
And think of all the undertones McDonald's puts in their advertising without saying, hey, buy McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people are like selling the experience and the motion as opposed to the product, right? So how do you
Mm.
feel when? And if people could relate to that, they're more likely to tie into that. So messaging is extremely important. You don't want to be too salesy, too pushy, but you still want to get that in on the back end in one way or another.
Yeah, no, that's true. And that's funny because when you do think about even fast food in general, like they have a lot of subtle like go ahead and buy or go to McDonald's. I always think of content like the old school infomercials, right? Like remember when you could be wide awake at like 2 a.m.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden this ad pops up and
yeah,
it's like, are you having
yeah.
trouble sleeping? And you're like, hell
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
because
me right
it's 2 a.m. right? Because it's 2 a.m.
HSN and QVC have built their empires off of that. Like,
Yeah.
who remembers them CDs from like the
Listen,
90s? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Columbia House. No,
Yeah,
seriously, because
yeah,
people were up and you knew how to just appeal to them. And I think that people forget that's how content should work.
Yeah.
Like you should know your people's pain points enough to know
Yeah.
exactly what to say in your messaging that
Agreed.
will make them identify and be like, oh, she's talking to me, you know? And
Mhm.
I think that's one of the things that I've been keeping in mind along with the strategies that you've provided is just like appeal to the audience. So like I've been trying and testing a lot of different things like quotes from survivors that I've had conversations with, you know,
Mhm.
about what they felt in that moment. And
Yeah.
I find that people have like reposted or commented or been like, oh my God, like I can't even imagine someone feeling that. Yeah, because they feel like that every day. So to the content creators out there, like what advice would you give them for someone who's like working on a campaign, something like this? Like what advice would you tell them?
Be authentic, be real. I mean, be transparent with your audience. Like
Yeah.
we live in a world. I could say like right now, like everybody's wearing multiple hats. Everybody's doing. If y'all hear beeping in the background, I'm pulling double duty. If y'all hear something in the background, I'm doing double duty. We are
Yeah.
trying to get the bag while doing a purpose and things like that. And your audience needs to know that. You know what I'm saying? And that's as real as either you're gonna tune in, if whether God you hear the beeping or not, or you're not. But I know there's several people out there like me that are bustling with their 9 to 5,
Yeah.
trying to get their business off the ground, trying to save the planet. And sometimes, right, especially in the first inception of something,
Yeah.
nothing is coming free. So
Nope.
what you're trying to do might have to come off the bare bones of your hustle. And
Yeah.
sometimes that hustle is going to overlap, and show those things,
Yeah.
show those things, because somewhere right now there's somebody at their 9 to 5 working on their little nail tech brand or their little,
Yeah.
show your process.
Yeah.
That's what helps make people like tune in, because we all have a process, and there's more of us as
Mm-hmm.
far as like the mighty middle than there is for that top. So while you're busy trying to be super clean and super perfect and things like that, and then wonder why your content is not hitting, there's not a lot of people that can relate to that.
Yeah. No, 1,000%. I think authenticity sells. I think to your point, like people want to see you in the grind. They want to see the process because oftentimes people see the results. And so I think taking people on the journey with you is key. Like people really do want to see when you get the package, when you, because then by the time you make it to the top, it's like, oh my God, I remember when she was out here and she was at work, but she was on the
You,
side.
you know how much people tell me that? Like, yo, I remember when your videos were like such and such. So to see you come this way,
Yeah.
I remember when you were selling t-shirts out your trunk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So to go from selling t-shirts out the trunk to a full brick and mortar, show them your, especially if you want people to buy into what you
Yeah.
got going on. Because again, if people don't know the journey, they're gonna be like, she don't need that. Like she got it. If everything is
Right.
what am I donating for? Like she just popped out with a Rolex. Like, wait.
Right. Right.
But I'm telling, listen, I tell people I got a whole college degree and I still be doing some schlep work or work that people think is beneath them, or
Yeah.
work people go on social media. One of the things that I hated, I went to an event and there was another content creator there, and we just happened to work for the same agency. And she would not take pictures because she was like, I don't want people to know I have a job. And I'm like, what?
Listen.
What?
That-
Your page reflects that. Like your page and your reflects that. Because why am I gonna buy into, you got it, you Gucci over there.
right. Right. No, for real. Like I don't hesitate to be like, yep, I got a whole business and still running have a 9 to 5. Sure do. Because until that business gets me to where I need it to be financially, I'm gonna be on somebody clock getting this
And I
paycheck.
say, get it how you live it. Get it how you live it.
Okay.
If you gotta multitask, if you gotta double this, to me, when your hunger for what you're doing is so strong, and nothing's beneath you.
That's
Nothing is
it.
beneath you. You know,
Yeah.
within reason, y'all. Within reason.
Don't listen. Don't
Don't
be
get
out
all
here.
creative.
Don't be out here busting it wide open
Yeah.
and doing all
So
the good stuff. But
that's
no,
what I'm
for real.
saying. You know, like you double it up until you get where you need to be, and show the process.
Yeah, no, for real. And let's be real, like some of the people y'all following every single day, that's what they've done. Like I'd be telling people when Tabitha Brown came on the scene, people just thought it happened overnight. Like I was like, that
Yeah,
girl was in her
yeah,
car eating vegan
yeah,
sandwiches, going live. Like
yeah,
you know what I mean? On disability. Like
yeah.
you know what
And
I
it's not
mean?
until they scroll back that they be like, oh, somebody be like, why are you in this now? I'm like, nah, you better get that index finger, give it a good
Right.
3 scrolls so you can see
Right.
the journey. Now ain't just happened.
Exactly. It's
So
years in the making. I love it. So I gotta ask you as we get ready to wrap up, what are you looking forward to that night? What is there something
the
that you're like,
fashions,
okay,
the food, the food. And the stories, and the
yeah.
stories. I feel like I'm gonna need a whole box of, I'm gonna say tissue. I ain't gonna say the brand name because ain't nobody sponsored. But I'm gonna need a whole box of tissue. I
Yeah.
think because I'm gonna be a crying mess. Like I'm a whatever
Listen,
makeup I have on it better be waterproof that day because I'm gonna be a whole mess.
listen. It's so funny because I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I need some waterproof makeup because the way I'm gonna
Holler,
cry
hollering,
that night. I
holler.
mean, from the keynote to the panel to
Yeah,
like the way I'm just seeing the vision come together
yeah, yeah,
is gonna make me cry.
yeah,
So I'm like you. I'm like, but the food for sure. Because
yeah.
anybody that know me know I'm a foodie. And
And the journey and
yeah,
the journey and I want to say the resilience because I feel like for you just working with you I feel like there's been some situations that presented itself where
yeah.
people typically would have been like, oh, I'll do it next year, I'm out or whatever, and you was just like, we're gonna pivot and prosper,
Listen,
so I,
listen.
I definitely salute you on that. So I want to see how what you envision definitely manifests.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see, you're being recognized before this even happened, right? You have received a citation and
yeah,
not one key turned to open not one door yet. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So in regards to what you mentioned earlier, like your ability to show the process and sell the movement, you've done that.
yeah,
So it's just curious. I'm just excited to see it like IRL, like in real life. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think that I give all glory to God because
Mhm.
like he gave me the vision a year ago. He was
Mhm.
like, I was like, is it gonna be on your payroll? Because like my payroll don't match, and he's done it. Like it is just amazing to see the people that have donated, to see the people that have sponsored, to see the people that have brought tickets so far. Like it has just been amazing to watch
Yeah.
something he gave me
Yeah. Manifest.
come to life, and I couldn't do it without y'all. Like the first thing I told God was sir, I need a team because
Like I got the
Leah.
vision. Is he gonna send the team love?
Right, because
Like
I ain't doing nothing by myself, but he handpicked y'all. Like he handpicked every last one of y'all, and I'm just grateful that y'all said yes.
yeah, yeah,
Because even though it is me, right, there are still people that will put $1 to that,
of course,
right?
of
There are
course,
people
yeah,
like, yeah, you my
yeah,
girl,
yeah.
and
But
run me this
and
invoice.
no shade to them. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody getting it how they get it. However, I do understand as a person, who through events and stuff like that. I understand the joy that come from like, yo, I got you. Like
Yeah,
I understand the relief that comes
yeah.
from the I got you. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
before I let you go, you gotta tell people how they can find you, how they can support you, what you got going on.
Okay. Personally, if you want to see my wacky dating stories, my travel life, and just me showing up like this, you could visit at It's Aya Thomas. If you want to see all my plus size content at Shapely Events. And if you need photo booth services, if you need content creation, social media management, it's at Snapscene NY. She's gonna put it down here somewhere, I'm pretty sure. So
Oh, of course.
yeah.
Listen, y'all make sure y'all get with my girl Aya. Thank you so much
You're
for taking the
welcome.
time out. And yeah, until next time, y'all, I'll see y'all in the next video.
Okay, bye.